You're listening to episode number 28 of the Mind Body Masters podcast. This is season 2 coming at you, and today I'm going to share with you the story of the very first patient that I ever helped with this work. So stick around. Welcome to the Mind Body Masters podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Jake Curry, chiropractor, mind body expert, and the creator of Mind Body Therapy and the NeuroShift. This podcast is for health and wellness professionals who want to become exceptional at their craft. Here I will help you master the emotional origins of pain and chronic disease so you can get life-changing results for your clients and grow your healthcare business from the inside out. So if you're ready to discover a modern, holistic approach to healthcare that will benefit even your most complex clients, set you apart with a unique point of difference, increase demand for your services, and help you offer virtual consultations, then this podcast is for you. So stay tuned. All right, we are at season 2 of the Mind Body Masters podcast, and if you can't tell from the introduction, I'm taking a slightly different course of direction with the podcast going forward. Previously, this podcast has been for everyone. It's been for anyone who wants to heal themselves, understand how their mind and their body work together. But going forward, this is going to be really catered to healthcare professionals, wellness experts, and people who have clients who are struggling with various health conditions. So all of the episodes are going to be nice and short and concise. We're going to get into some cool stories. We're going to talk about some success cases that we've had with our students. And above all, I'm going to give you some amazing tools and perspectives that you can use in your clinical practice to get truly life-changing results. So today, I just wanted to share a quick story of one of the very first clients that I ever helped with this work. So we need to wind back the clock all the way back to 2015. So this is now coming on 10 years ago from when this happened. And I think it's a fitting time to look back at this particular case because this one case study really showed me what's possible when it comes to healing. It showed me how the mind affects the body and how when you can heal the mind, the body truly does follow. So 2015, I was working as a full-time chiropractor in my clinic, helping people with all kinds of musculoskeletal conditions, right? As you can expect being a chiropractor. Now, one of the cool things is with chiropractic, I was able to help a lot of people get well. I was able to help people overcome all kinds of injuries and pains and all the rest of it. But how I kind of got into this work is I got incredibly frustrated at a number of patients who just never got better no matter what I tried. Maybe their pain started for some unknown cause, or there might have been some patients that might see some improvements with the care and the therapies that I was using, but their pain would always come back, right? So if you're a practitioner, you know this story where you've got John who's got lower back pain, he gets some relief, but then the pain is back 2 weeks later, a month later, and these patients are stuck in these like really constant cycles of pain, right? So this is what opened my eyes to the emotional origins of pain and German medicine and looking at techniques that we can utilize to change the mind so that the body can start to heal. So one of the first, at the time, 2015, I was about a year into studying this thing called German medicine, which, if you haven't heard from any of the previous podcasts, is all about this very specific emotional conflicts that cause physical symptoms in the body. And the genome understanding is really beautiful. It is an understanding that is the body is not broken, it's not malfunctioning, it's not faulty or diseased. It's simply adapting or changing in response to changes in the environment, or more importantly, perceived changes in the environment, right? So much like how your blood pressure would increase, your heart rate would increase, you might start sweating more if you had to do a public speech, for example. These are real physiological changes that occur in the body in response to a stressful situation or a stressful event. And one of the things that I've come to realize is that pain and other chronic health conditions operate under the same circumstances, meaning that people can be in pain due to some kind of emotional or stressful situation. And that pain is an adaptation that's designed to try and help that individual cope with whatever they're dealing with. And so this is a totally new way of looking at health and a totally new way of looking at symptoms. Most traditional healthcare, even alternative and complementary healthcare, sees pain and sees symptoms as a problem, something that needs to be fixed or something that needs to be remedied. And the way that we see it is it's not a problem, it's not something that's broken, it's not a fault, it's just the body adapting. And when you can identify what the body is adapting for or what's causing those adaptations, and if you can deal with that, well, all of a sudden the body no longer needs those adaptations. It can start to heal. You can start to overcome things like persistent injuries and chronic pain and all kinds of other chronic health conditions. So this story is a really great example of that. And it's an example of a client that I had. And this lady, she was probably in her 30s. She was a semi-regular patient. She used to come in whenever she felt like she needed to tune up, and she was a hairdresser. So I think she originally came in because, as most hairdressers will tell you, is that being hunched over a chair all day cutting hair isn't great for posture, isn't great for shoulder and neck pain from a structural perspective. And that's what she originally came to see me with. But there was this one day that she turned up to my clinic and she had this massive, a wrist brace on, which was very unusual for her. And she walked in and I was like, oh, really? What's going on with your wrist here? Like, have you had a fall? Have you come off your bike? Have you done something, had a big accident? And she said, no, I've actually done none of those things. And that kind of piqued my interest. And it kind of got me thinking, this could be an emotional link here. And so I asked her, like, how did it start if you didn't injure it? And she said, honestly, Jake, I just woke up one morning and my wrist was in so much pain I could barely move it. And this is one of the hallmark signs of pain or a condition that's caused by some kind of emotional origin, some kind of emotional stress. The others are when pain just continues to come back again and again and again and again, no matter what you try. Or if there's particular triggers that cause symptoms to flare up. But this one was when her pain started for no apparent reason. It's very unusual to wake up with a wrist that needs to all of a sudden be braced. And so with this client, I was kind of going through the motions, adjusting her as I normally would. And then I sort of said, hey, do you mind if I ask you some questions that might help you uncover the origins of this wrist thing that's going on here? And she's like, yeah, sure, whatever. Like, I want to get to the bottom of this because obviously I'm a hairdresser and this wrist thing is meaning I have to take time off work, which is not ideal. And so I use the G&M framework, and one of the things that I look at here is there's a 3-step process to help people overcome pain when there is an emotional origin. I call it find it, feel it, heal it, right? So the find it is about identifying what is the specific event, what was the stressor, what was the emotional conflict that has caused the physical changes to begin with. So that's the first thing. We need to identify, well, what was it? The second thing is often the symptoms that will show up in the body are from stressful events or emotional things that we might not necessarily have processed or moved through at the time. Maybe we had to bottle it up. Maybe we had to put on a brave face. And so the second step is feeling it. It's about connecting with the emotions and helping to clear them out. And lastly, the third step is to heal it. And heal it is about changing perspective. It is about thinking differently, changing your perspective on that event so that it's no longer a stressful situation. So being a hairdresser and having a wrist issue, the G&M understanding of wrist pain and hand pain and things like that is what's known as a manual dexterity conflict. So a manual dexterity conflict is essentially a conflict, and it's a part of the self-devaluation theme, if you will. And it's a self-devaluation so a self-devaluation is essentially, I'm an idiot, I've done something wrong, I'm no good, I'm worthless. It's essentially a loss of self-worth. And the wrist is associated with some kind of manual task that you might have been doing. And so I asked this client, I said to her, listen, we know that sometimes when pain shows up out of the blue and there's no particular reason for it, often there can be an emotional trigger or an emotional event that started it all. Do you mind if we explore that? And she's like, sure, let's do it. And so I said, so this conflict is related to what's known as a manual dexterity conflict, and it's essentially around feeling like you've done a bad job or feeling like you've made a big mistake with your hands. Does anything come to mind? And in that moment was when I saw something truly magical, and when I realized that, hey, this stuff works and we're onto something here, especially when it comes to unexplained pain, persistent injuries, chronic pain, and symptoms that persist again and again and again, despite all kinds of conventional treatment. And as soon as I asked her that question, where did you feel like you made a mistake with your hands? Where did you feel like you didn't do a very good job? She almost burst into tears. And the reason being was a few weeks previously, she was cutting a lady's hair. And this lady asked her, hey, I'm ready for a bit of a change. Can you cut my hair shorter? And obligingly, she was like, of course, we can do that. And so she cut her hair. And at the end of her haircut, this client of our hairdresser friend went ballistic. She went really mad and got aggressive and angry and was screaming at my client saying, you've ruined my hair, you've cut it too short, and you've absolutely destroyed it. I'm going to give you bad reviews and tell everyone not to come and see you, blah, blah, blah. And so this hairdresser went through this really unexpected, stressful event where this client was blowing up at her and blaming her for cutting her hair too short, even though she asked for it. And so for our client, this was an unexpected and emotionally distressing event that triggered some adaptations in her wrist. And the moment that she made that connection, the moment that she realized the link between the physical changes and pain in her wrist and what had gone on in her life and in her salon and in from an emotional perspective, she noticed an immediate shift in her wrist. She started to feel it almost flush full of blood. She noticed it start to tingle. And as she kind of processed through the emotions and actually told me about how she really felt and all this kind of stuff, all these wonderful changes started to take place. And all of a sudden, I just asked her, I said, hey, just check your wrist again. What do you notice? How does it feel? And she was blown away. All of a sudden, she could start to move her wrist. She was completely pain-free. And this occurred within a matter of minutes. She actually walked out and left the wrist brace in my office, which was a kind of a funny one because she just didn't need it. And she forgot it because her wrist was feeling so good. And so this really is a great story. And she was back working, which is fantastic. But this was just a really great story. And this is one of the first stories that I ever had. And there's been hundreds since of clients who have become pain-free just by asking the right questions, by having a conversation with them about what's been going on in their life. And so if you take anything away from today's podcast episode, is just understand that emotional stress can and does cause physical changes in the body. So if you've got clients that have symptoms that just aren't getting better, maybe they've got some kind of unexplained pain that's just showed up out of the blue, chances are there's an emotional origin to that. And if you can just learn to ask the right questions, you don't need to be a counselor, you don't need to sit down with them and help them process through it all. You just need to help them become aware of the links between their mind and their body. And when you can do that, you can really start to see some truly life-changing results. So I hope you found this story useful. I'm sharing this at a time where I'm remembering all the wonderful cases and stories that I've had over the years. And reconnecting with that mission, with that purpose of helping practitioners become exceptional, helping practitioners master the mind-body side of disease so that they can get results just like this for their patients. So hope you found this episode useful. We're going to be coming at you with plenty more success stories, some from my students as well. I've got some great cases lined up for you. But yeah, thanks for tuning in, and I hope you found this episode useful. By the way, if you would like a free copy of the emotional origins to pain, this is an ebook that I have created specifically for health and wellness practitioners. And in this ebook, I outline all of the different musculoskeletal pains and the emotional links. So this is a guide that you can print off and keep in your office. I know a lot of practitioners have it by their adjusting table or by their treatment table. And you can refer to that. And in this guide, it'll tell you the specific types of conflicts linked with wrist pain or back pain or neck pain or shoulder pain. And then it has a list of questions that you can actually ask your clients. So using this guide, you can get results like the result that I just talked about. So if you would like a free copy of that guide, head over to mindbodymasters.com/guide and you'll be able to download your free copy there. So anyway, thanks so much for listening, and I'll see you in the next episode.